All right, good morning, everyone from Chicago, and welcome to the last meeting of the Pirandello on Air initiative organized by the Pirandello Society of America. Today, we're just going to have a very short informal meeting with our friends here and members, board members, collaborators, Pirandello friends and lovers, scholars. Many labels can be applied to the people that we have here, mentors. Just to thank you for accompanying us on this journey since January, and in general for supporting the Pirandello Society of America. We have had a slight increase in membership, so we're very happy about that. All of the work that we're doing here is, of course, on voluntary basis. So any support that you guys could give us is much appreciated. And of course, this year, and as usual, when you subscribe to become a member of the Pirandello Society of America, you do get a complimentary copy of the journal that this year is a special issue celebrating the 100 years since the first performance, right? Since the first performance of 6 characters in search of an author. All right, so today I have again with me Michael Subialka, who is the co-president of the Pirandello Society of America and professor of Italian at UC Davis. Lisa Sarti, she is one of the editors of our journal at the Pirandello Society and one of the main organizers of events with Michael and Enza and everybody else. There's a lot of collaboration going here, and she teaches Italian at CUNY. We have Enza De Francisci from the UK, from Glasgow, and she is the representative there of the UK sister organization of the PSA, which is the Society for Pirandello Studies. Maybe we should all unite somehow in a way and have one name for Pirandello. But yeah, this is our sister organization. We also collaborate a lot with them and have events and other kind of journal publications together. And finally, Daniela Bini, our favorite professor and collaborator from UT Austin in Texas, who has also been so generous with her time accompanying us on this journey and presenting her work. Thanks, Daniela, for joining us again today. All right, so I would like to start by asking you, this will be mostly a promotional kind of event today. So are there any events that we should be looking forward to this year for the rest of the summer or the fall regarding Pirandello? Enza, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Lisa and Michael for helping me, introducing me and welcoming me so much to the PSA. This is the first time I've ever co-edited a Pirandello journal, and it was such a momentous one with the centenary. And, you two really taught me what team players are all about. Like, I wouldn't have had it's been so interesting and then so supportive at the same time. So I just wanted to really take this opportunity to embarrass you online to say how wonderful you've been and how much I'm literally going to miss it. And I would recommend that, if anyone's interested to co-supervise, co-edit with Lisa and Michael, seriously, they're like the best editors ever. And it's such a learning curve. I've learned so much, and you're so brilliant, and your friends. So I'm just really moved.
Absolutely. And so is there anything in Britain or in the UK that is being organized for Pirandello in the following months that we should maybe know about?
Well, I think there's lots going on. I mean, recently the Times Literary Supplement had a really excellent piece written by Anne Caesar on the centenary of on the anniversary for 6 characters, and her piece talked about their kind of wave the flag to have new translations of Pirandello and how it's time now maybe to really revise his works and bring him to the Anglophone world in new, fresh translations. So I hope to see more translations of Pirandello. I can see some nods, so yeah. I hope you would agree.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say that our colleague and collaborator Bradford Mazzoni, who's an independent scholar, just actually got a contract to publish the English translation of L'Esclusa, which will be the first translation in English. So we're very happy about that, and he's of course thrilled at the prospect. Right, Lisa, how about you? Anything you would like to share about future events or?
Well, maybe I can share this because I just got news a few days ago that a new course that I proposed at CUNY was accepted on modern Italian theater. So next year I'll have the chance to finally teach 6 characters. I'm such of an author. It's like the play that I really wanted to be in these syllables. Of course, it won't be just on Pirandello, but Pirandello will be there.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very excited because I was really waiting for this chance. I haven't taught this play for several years at this point. Although this semester I taught a literature class and Pirandello was part of the syllabus, of course, but just with the short stories. But we discussed a lot, the umorismo and his poetics. And I think for the very first time in a few years, I got a positive response from my students. They really loved Pirandello. So we say, yeah. So finally, I got this as a big compliment for them, because they said that I was able to show them a side of him that they wouldn't expect. So really, I took this as a big compliment because, as I always joke with Michael, Pirandello is family to me at this point. I have been reading and, learning about him so much.
Yep.
That,
I know how that feels.
Maybe I sounded very knowledgeable to my students, knowing all these little crazy details about his life.
Right. Yeah, we've learned so much about him. No, that's wonderful. And I remember from your talk now at the Istituto di Italiano a Londra, you were also talking about 6 characters in search of an author, and how it is a problematic play. It was groundbreaking at the time when it came out, but how can we kind of bring it closer to our sensibilities now? Because it does seem, you said that it deals with dated issues, with slightly dated issues that maybe today are not that relevant. And then I remember Patricia responded saying, well, we can like rephrase it, we can kind of appreciate it as a work on its own. So that will probably be our task now, is our task to translate Pirandello into the 21st century.
But there are so many layers in that text that I'm sure there will always be a future for that play. Yes, because it really depends on the adaptation and just the layer that you really decide to focus on. And then, it can be adapted and readapted and readapted. So maybe we will, celebrate so many more adaptations. And
I agree. Daniela. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And, it's not that it's going to be, diffuse much, because I'm teaching a graduate course on Pirandello in fall. And it is, I taught it before, it's called Narrative versus Dramatic Discourse. And I will really get into what we were discussing in London or Glasgow, I don't know where we were, or Austin or Chicago, New York.
Hovering above the Atlantic.
Yes, precisely. The fact that this dialectic between the two, and why eventually, Pirandello realized, I think, that after all, the theater that renew himself is probably the closest, art form to life. But I'm very happy about the translation of L'Esclusa too, because he actually wrote to me several times. He wanted some support, and the fact that Rutgers, he wrote me right away telling me that Rutgers had accepted his translation, which is going to be really, it's incredible to think it so much of Pirandello, who won a Nobel Prize, who made such an impact in the world of culture, not only literature, is not being translated in English. It's really something terrible. But as far as 6 characters also, I think, I forgot who said at the meeting that we can call it a manifesto. Who said that? I forgot.
Patricia.
Which I think it's a very, good way to see it, because, yes, we present it in many different ways, but I think we can make it so attractive if we read it the way I like to read it, with La Figliastra as the main character, especially in 1925. So it is sort of a gender, you can read it in a feminist way, and you attract more, probably, students, And in fact, what I even did it in my broader a piece in my book, the old book of Pirandello and his Muse. I connected also with Sgombero. Since you asked a question, one of your questions for today was, what's one of your favorite short story play? And actually, one of my favorite is Gombero, which Pirandello did not include in Novelle per un anno, because it is not a novella. It is a monologue by a woman, a young woman. And I think it's, I really see it as, connected with 6 characters. Here is the first time where you have a woman who takes, charge. She's the only one who speaks. She has committed, in a way, a parricide. She's speaking in front of the corpse or of her father, and just brings out all, the injustices of the female condition. So I think, and it's a good way to connect it even to 6 characters, I think. So this is something that I'm telling people, if you are interested, especially if you are teaching it, maybe you like to read that play together with it, or the monologue, but together with 6 characters. But for example, my question, I don't know, has it been translated?
Sgombero. Probably not. I mean, the short stories in general.
Does anybody know? Because in my book, I translated a lot of quotes, of course, because I wrote in English, but I couldn't find it. But that was all, 20 years ago, whatever. I couldn't find the translation then, and I did not check, about the years. So I'm going to ask my friend and my ex-student, Steve, maybe if you want to handle that. But if you have some better, people in mind, absolutely. But since I really consider a very important piece, and I think it probably would be appreciated, today by our students, especially since we have mostly, at least in my classes, female.
Right.
I don't know about you, but
that's one surprising aspect that maybe people are not very aware of, that Pirandello lends himself very easily and readily to the study of gender. That it's like a treasure trove, specifically L'Esclusa. That novel is so complex in the way that he presents the inner life of this woman and the difficulties she goes through in Sicily. A student of mine at the University of Chicago actually just wrote a BA thesis on L'Esclusa, and luckily he read Italian, so he didn't need the translation, but he was also quite frustrated that there isn't one. So he read that together with a book by Georges Sand and a Brazilian novel, and figured out that Pirandello is quite realistic and quite harsh on patriarchy. The criticism that he puts forward is really, it's tremendous, and it's quite original.
But what for me is even more, fascinating is the fact that he can be so revolutionary in his work, and he's such a conservative in his life. There is no way. I mean, he's not. I mean, we can say he's attacking patriarchy, yes, but in his work, he's attacking, this discrimination, the mistreatment of women. But in his life, I mean, it's. Just read the correspondence, if you read the letters to Martaba, the letters to his daughter. I mean, it's just incredible. It makes you angry. It makes you angry. My son, to whom I gave my last book, which has the first chapter on Pirandello, he didn't know. I mean, he was furious when he read those letters that he wrote to Lieta.
Absolutely.
He was a bastard. I said, yes. I guess as a father, yes.
Yeah, there's almost like a hypocrisy. The gulf between the man and his work is just, it's an abyss. It's abyssal. And so you had your hand up before.
Yeah, just to pick up on what Daniela was saying about translations of short stories or monologues and different ones, but I think it was Virginia Jewis, who just recently published a collection, and I think her work is fantastic, and she wrote to me as well, and I just love the way in which she picked like the kind of stories that maybe we weren't familiar with. So if it is out there, because I think she does follow us, that's really excellent work, and I think we deserve more translations of short stories as well as plays, and definitely what Daniela said about monologues, especially unknown ones.
Enza, is this book come out, this translation? Could you maybe send the title, the information, so one can order it?
Yeah.
Oh, here.
Okay, great. Yes, and then I have to copy it. Those stories for the years, Luigi Pirandello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah, that's one
Published by
Yale University Press, and it's a collection of 30 short stories, many of which, as was just pointing out, are not the usual ones. Although there are some that are have been translated before as well. It's a really beautiful translation. Yeah, so it's definitely worth getting a copy of that.
Is there Sgombro there? No, because it's
not. Yeah,
it's not a short story.
It has not been translated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is now included in Novelle per un anno, but he called it a sketch.
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know, Lisa, maybe we can mention now. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I was just about, to say something, but I'm not sure. But please go ahead. Yeah, this is a big announcement. So.
Yeah, I think you should go for it, Lisa.
Well, actually, Michael and I have like a very huge news to share with you, because we have been working on this project for years at this point. But we are really, really very close to open a new website, and it's the digital edition of Pirandello's short stories in translation. Amazing. So it's really a big production, believe me. I mean, it's absorbing all our time and energy, and even mental energy. But we have a pool of translators working with us. It's a critical edition. Michael and I put together an introduction with footnotes, and so it's a much needed digital volume in a way, because as you can see from our conversation now, we really need to see these short stories in translation. They need to be available to English readers, and we have very, very, very good translations. It's just that for now, it's just a work in progress, because it's a very time-consuming. We are receiving more and more short stories, and we have to edit them and introduce them, create the footnotes. So it takes time. But we are very close, right, Michael? Maybe in a week or so, we should be able to launch the...
Amazing. Wow,
yeah, I think hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll be able to get it going. And as Lisa said, obviously it won't already include all of the short stories. We'll just start with a few of them that we've been able to edit and put together so far. And then we'll kind of build it up to eventually, someday we're going to have all 244 of them in English. So that's the goal.
Before I die, please. But I want, you see, that this is this 6-character event, okay. But that's what I actually wanted to compliment you guys, to have devoted, the next issue to the short stories, because I think that the short story is Pirandello's masterpiece. Maybe my opinion is not the most important, but after having spent half of my life almost with him, I really think so, because and that too is close to his philosophy, because Pirandello writes really short stories, very short. Why? I've been thinking about it. Is really a brilliant idea, quickly developed and concluded, so that it doesn't fall into the rhetorics that he actually couldn't stand. And this is what I would put in an introduction, for example, to the short stories. That's one of the reasons. And I think they are such jewels and masterpieces, because, being such an enemy of rhetorics, being the scrittore di cose and not di parole, then, of course, if he had gone over and over in his short stories, he would have fallen into that, at least there was that risk. In fact, some of those short stories, the ones that he wrote during the war, for example, Berecchi alla guerra, they are a little heavier, and they are not as powerful. Marco Liggio, they are not, but they are long, and they become redundant, they become repetitive, all things that he didn't like. But of course, he wrote them, with the pressure of the World War I, with his sons going to war, and so he was not probably doing it in the best,
Maybe we even see that, Daniela, in the novels. The novels are basically very successful short stories that he kind of dilates with a lot of philosophical ruminations in between that students usually tend to skip over. That is the part that no one wants to read, right? But if we could also, I agree that those short stories are really always on the point, and he just kind of throws this flash of lightning at you, and it's complete in itself. It's complete and perfect. Whereas like every time I read a novel by him, it just feels it becomes heavy at a certain point. It becomes so full of these Pirandellian ruminations that it's hard then to kind of like him very much. Like I think people enjoy reading the novels because they have such original ideas at the ground structure, but the writing itself is pesante. It's Pirandello is a heavy author even for Italians, I imagine, right?
But as I said also, yes, I think as you said very rightly, they are like short stories connected. For example, I think one of the best, Uno, Nessuno e Centomila, which is very short, and each chapter is sort of a short story, But even your Serafino Gubbio, I think it can be read that way,
I agree. Yeah. So, Serafino Gubbio could be reduced very easily to a very compact, beautiful short story. But thankfully we have the novel.
Anyway, thank you so much for doing this issue. I'm so excited. I wanted to tell you right away, but since we had to concentrate on 6 characters, still it's okay. But no, bravi.
Bravissimi.
I just would like to add one just little thing because I think it's fair. Okay, Michael and I are, of course, editing everything, but Julianne Van Wagenen actually realized the website.
Yeah.
And you will see that the website is really beautiful.
We
are very proud of what she put together. She was so good at listening all our requests, and she just, realized them visually, which is, I think even Pirandello would be very proud.
Yeah, she's like the dea ex machina of the Pirandello Society. She gets all the machinery working in the background, and we have so much to thank her for.
She can transform our thoughts into visual form, which is very Pirandellian, right? So,
absolutely.
And it is what you two like, because you even wrote a book.
Absolutely. I'm so much into this visual thinking at this point. It's just running my life as a concept.
And so you were saying.
Sorry, just to jump on that note about new translations, Susan Basnet and I have just finished our our only British translation of Stefano Pirandello's play, which we named All You Need Is a Father. So also, when we look forward about new translations of Pirandello, I think we should also bring in Stefano as well. And I think his work is interesting because there's always that inevitable question as why wasn't he as successful as his father? And he wasn't, unfortunately for him. So it's been quite interesting because the styles are very different, very pesante as well, and very different, but it's been an interesting journey. And I know that Sara Zappina Moscara has organized this translation cluster, and everyone's translating the same play into various languages. So Professor Basnet and I did the English version, published in the UK, because there's another one published in Australia. And it's really interesting. So I thought I'd just throw it out there.
No, thanks for mentioning it, Enza, because we haven't talked at all in all these meetings that we've had about the son of Pirandello. We have we kind of talked about Lieta, and the Pirandello's relationship to the women in his life, but the son is kind of out of the picture. And I remember, Daniela, I think you said once that in the Pirandello household, it was always supposed to be so quiet. You were supposed to hear the fly passing by. He wanted an extreme kind of silence at home. And I remember reading in the Album Pirandello published by the Meridiani, there was like a little sketch in which Pirandello would always say to Stefano, state zitto se no t'ammazzo. Keep quiet or I'll kill you. Just stay away from daddy's work. So it will be also interesting to see what that relationship was like. Surely not an easy one.
And then Michael and Lisa remember that, I wrote a piece for their book on Fausto. And so he too, Luigi thought that he could teach painting to his son. He knew everything. He could have become a great painter had he not, devoted himself to writing.
Amazing, amazing. So many other topics. Just from this conversation that we've been talking for 20 minutes already, we can see how much more can be done and should be done on Pirandello's work. Michael, anything you would like to add?
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, is for Lisa and I certainly is that we're very excited to have the website go live soon and to be able to start disseminating the short stories in English as they need to be. I mean, it's interesting that in German, for example, there's a complete edition, a translation of all of Pirandello's works. Right, in other languages, there's been so much more, and in English, there's been a kind of slowness. And the short stories have always been translated in these kind of like either as individual one-off stories that get translated in like a journal or something like that, or else they've also been translated often in these little sort of short volumes with a selection that somebody's made. So we're happy to sort of start putting them all together. I think that's the biggest thing. I also was kind of thinking as we were talking about all of this that, there are still, of course, upcoming conferences too. There'll be one in Zurich in November, which I think maybe a couple of you are going to actually be presenting on, which should be exciting. And then I think the Agrigento conference is happening in December, if I'm not mistaken. So we still have, even though I think that our issue on the centenary is about to come out, and we're kind of wrapping up our, the PSA's year of the centenary, there's still many more celebrations to kind of come, as it were, across the world as well. So I think that's kind of something that we should also be looking out for and be excited about. Lisa, were you going to say something? Did I cut you off?
I had a question about your website. So are you going to just put on the website also the translation already done that you approve, that you like, in addition of course, having those translators doing more? So you are including translated short story already?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael, please.
I was going to say, so what we're starting out with the new translations that we have, and then also with there are a couple of translations that were published by PSA within the last 2 years or so that we'll make digitally available there as well. But then, the question of whether or not we can republish historically translated works will depend also on copyright issues. So that's something that has to be negotiated, and maybe we'll take a little bit of time to figure out for some of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because some translations might be good. I mean, I'm not an expert in that, so that would be really silly to redo another one when you got plenty of stuff to do anyway, If you could use, or republished, yes.
Yeah, there are, like, as Michael was saying, some copyright issues. So we had to, find a way to get around those issues. But certainly at the moment we have many short stories. As Michael said, you won't see them all together right now as soon as we, go public with the website, because, it just takes time. And, we were very busy with the journal so far. So we will catch up eventually. And but we are very happy because so far we have the work of, we have 4 translators, right, Michael? 4? Yes. And many short stories. So we're very, very excited about this project. It was really the right moment.
Basically 100 stories per person, almost like 70 stories per person to translate.
Well, some translators have more short stories translated than others. But for example, we have also some of the very long ones, like Donna Mimma, like Berek e la Guerra. So this is a good thing. I mean, because it's already a big portion of the entire collection. So
absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Well,
sorry, I was going to just add to what you were saying there. And of course, we also envisioned this, as Lisa was saying before, as the kind of launching point, and that it's going to continue to develop as this work in progress. It's just one of the exciting things about a digital volume as opposed to a printed volume where you can't release anything until it's completed, right? And so we also will be looking for additional translators to join us. So it's not, I think we don't envision it just being the 4 translators for the whole collection. In fact, we want to kind of continue to build and grow, as it were, a group of translators to collaborate. So if you all are thinking about translating anything, or if you know colleagues, students, or anyone who's thinking about translating, you should definitely send them our way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Michael. It seems like there's so much to do. There's so many more projects, and we have definitely succeeded in keeping Pirandello alive all these years through our work, and Marta Abba would surely be proud of all of us. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to share the screen very quickly to show our viewers how the website looks like for now, our official website of the Pirandello Society of America, particularly to encourage you to also become members of the PSA. This means you have access to old issues of the journal, and you will, of course, receive a complimentary copy of whatever is our next issue. So just you go to membership, and then you can click on join now, and then there are various ways of you can make a donation, you can become a member, and then you choose your own your affiliation and the rank, so to say, in academia, or if you're an independent researcher. Here you can find information about the journal. It's pretty. Julianne did a wonderful layout job. Is that how you say it? The visual part is really pleasant. It's very easy to access. Here we have call for papers and collaborations. Every time we organize something new, you will find the announcement here. And of course, the video archive where we have all the PSA on air free recordings of everything that we did this year. And I think we're also going to upload, Michael, you said we're going to upload the event now from the Istituto di Italiano a Londra, right?
Yeah, I think we'll include a link to it. I believe that we have that. Is that right, Enza?
We're just trying to sort out the copyright as well.
Perfect. So that's where you can find all the recordings for free, of course. And please feel free to send us suggestions about events, something. Topics we could discuss during next year. Now we're going to take a brief break for the summer, and probably in the fall, I don't think we're going to have yet any kind of Pirandello on air issues, but that's where all the ideas will be gathered. And then hopefully in January next year, we can pick up again with these interviews. In any case, about 6 characters in search of an author. I'm always trying not to confuse the title, because people have played so much with this title. It's one of the most successful titles, I think, in the history of literature. So that even, I think I told you, Michael, the chair of my department here, who's not a Pirandello scholar but has heard of him, said once to me, "Oh, is that the guy who wrote that play?" And she was saying, "You know what they say about LA? It's 5 neighborhoods or 6 neighborhoods in search of a city." So Pirandello, this title finds its way in colloquial language and idiomatic expressions so much that people don't even know where it originated anymore, but it continues kind of being productive. All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Anna, thank you for this incredible, semester with your initiative, your strength, energy is just, bravissima.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, guys.
You've been amazing. Yes, you contributed to the success of PSA, because all these meetings have been really, really great. You did an amazing job. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I really do. And this has been such a great opportunity to bring everyone together, to have people from Italy, people from the UK, and hopefully then next year we can expand even more internationally. And as Michael suggested, to invite even performers, to invite actors, to have that part of Pirandello also included for us. All right. So thank you so much again. And
have a great summer.
You too. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Arrivederci.